Hello and welcome to another episode of You, Me, and a Mug of Tea. This is my podcast series that I am doing as a side hustle while I train as a UX designer and hopefully land a job in this field. So for my podcast, I am trying to collect as many interesting people as I can. And they are not really from Pakistan because I believe that everybody knows a lot of people from Pakistan already. So in my podcast, I'm adding a flavor which will be different from others because there's going to be such a diverse set of guests. And last week's episode, you learned about one of my best friends from Vietnam. And today I have another best friend with me. And it's the same girl that we mentioned in that podcast as well. Her name is Abby, but her full name is Poloka Abigail Kabomo, and she is from Botswana, and we met in China. Hello, Abby.
Hiya. Oh my God, you said that name totally correct.
Yeah? I try. So tell us about yourself, Abby.
Okay, as you said, I'm from Botswana. I was in the same new media course with you. I've lived in a few different countries. I've lived in China, in Botswana, in Malaysia, traveled a little bit of Southeast Asia. Yeah.
So you're very well traveled. And what's interesting about Abby is that she can draw a contrast among three different countries. Abby did her bachelor's from Malaysia. That's a 4-year program, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she pursued her master's from China, which was a 2-year program, and she has lived in Botswana her entire life. So when you live in a country, for years, you learn a lot about it, especially as a student, because, students are all poor. We don't get to experience the luxurious touristic experience that other tourists get to experience since we're also living there. We interact with the locals and we try to make our own money to pay our own bills. Although we were on scholarship, but we still had bills. Like us girls love to shop, and in order to shop what we love, we had to make our own money.
Very true.
And when we got our nails done from the salons, we absolutely loved getting our nails done from there. So we
love getting the many petties.
Right. And we had to get to get all these girly dreams come true, these desires. And Abby, since she's always had these colorful braids in her hair, gray, pink, blue, you name a color, and she's had it red as well, black. I remember all of those.
Yes.
So she had to pay for it, right? You had to pay for it from your own pocket.
Yes. And oh my God, if you didn't know, like getting braids in a foreign country, especially in Asia, is freaking expensive compared to in my country.
Because it's something very unique and different. Asian hair is not like that where you can, put a weave in or get your braids done in. We have really plain, boring hair that we just shampoo and we just let it go. But this all kind of funky hair fashion, this colorful culture, that's mostly popular in African women. Maybe that's why since it's such a unique luxury and probably like something so, what's the word? Rare? What's the word?
Yeah.
It's super rare, right? Maybe that's why it's super expensive in Asia.
I think that's why. But it always puzzled me, because African girls were the ones doing my hair, but they would charge me like insanely much. I guess everyone wanted to make money.
Because we had to pay for our nails and our clothes and our shoes.
Exactly.
So you have lived as a student in 2 other countries as well. And as you said, you have traveled in South Asia as well. What kind of differences you have experienced in Botswana and in Malaysia and in China? And these are like 2 different continents, Africa and Asia. We'll talk about that. But first, we need to tell how we met. How did a girl from Pakistan meet a girl from Botswana? It's crazy.
Yes.
So I remember it this, that I was in the other building when I came to China in Beijing in our university, and there were 2 dorm buildings for international students. So I was in the other building. And then I was sleeping, and so early in the morning, I hear a knock on my door. on my dorm room's door. And I open it, and it's this gorgeous girl standing in front of me. And Abby, by the way, you are one of the first Black girls. No, actually, you're the first Black girl that I ever spoke to. Do you know this?
Yeah, you told me that so many times. I'm glad to be the first.
You're my first. So I open the door, and there's this gorgeous Black girl standing in front of me with a massive suitcase. And I was like, oh, she's like, they sent me up here. I guess we're roommates. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I remember you got on your bed, and you were so confused because, there's a massive language barrier in China. Nobody speaks English. And back then, we didn't speak a word of Chinese. So I remember you were so confused and all. So I offered to help. I think we went together to get you a Chinese SIM and maybe a bank card as well. I don't remember clearly about that. And the same day, or maybe the next day, they shifted me to this other building. So we weren't roommates anymore. I think it was the next day, right?
Yeah, it was the next day.
Yeah, next day I shifted to this other building, and you helped me move. We had met just a day ago, and you helped me move, and we were both just so sad that we're not roommates anymore. And I remember we tried getting you a room in that other building as well, but it didn't work. I don't remember exactly.
It didn't work.
And then I shifted completely to this new building, and then I had a Korean roommate, and everything else happened. And then you got AK as a roommate.
Yeah.
Right? I think we bonded from the second we saw each other. But how do you remember how we went?
Yeah. Okay. How I remember is that whole day was a mess for me. I was walking in the rain. The taxi guy had dropped me off at the wrong university. The university which was right next to ours.
Oh, yeah. Irvine.
Yeah, Irvine, yes. Because I spoke no Chinese at all, like zero Chinese. I just showed him my offer letter, and he was like, oh, yeah. And he dropped me off at the wrong university. So I was walking with all those bags to CUC in the rain. And the moment I got to CUC, everything was perfect. I met the security guys. They brought me to the dorm. I remember just walking in the room, seeing you, and falling asleep straight away for 20 hours or something.
You're right, yes. And I remember thinking, is she dead? Is she okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember mentioning my parents, I have a roommate, but I don't know anything about her.
Yeah, because I just came, hi, the introductions, and I was gone.
Yeah.
And the following day when I woke up, took me to get everything, the SIM cards. You were so nice and so helpful. I was like, oh my God, I made a friend on the first day. This is awesome. All right. Yes. So you helped me get the SIM card and everything, and we got the bank cards. I helped you move, and I got AK as my roommate. And I remember telling her that, oh my God, yesterday I met the nicest girl. You have to meet her. She's going to be our friend.
Yeah.
And that was history, as they say it. Yeah. And when I found out, I realized that we are also classmates. I was like, wow, this is a blessing. It's freaking awesome. I have someone to go to class with. I have one past roommate, one new roommate, and we are all friends. We all get along. Like, how rare is that?
Yeah, and we never even fought.
Yeah, even though some people try to make us fight by saying random things that were not true, I like the fact that even when people say stuff to us, we would literally just talk about it and laugh about it. I think that's why we've stayed friends for so long, because we can just be honest with each other.
That's true. And I don't... no, I remember what happened was that you made some new friends in the other building, and you used to hang out with them a lot. And I remember feeling absolutely neglected and ignored.
Yeah, but see, what you didn't understand about that was I was going through a crazy hard time, and you just pulled me up and you're like, Abby, this is not you. What are you doing? And I was like, yeah, you see me. And that moment, you have no idea, but that moment I really felt extra close to you, because not a lot of people realize when I'm going through something. And you managed to pull me out of a bad situation, honestly.
I remember because you were behaving entirely differently. It's not like, we had known each other
Yeah,
for 10, 11, 12 years. We had just known each other a few months. And all of a
exactly.
sudden, you were hanging out with this different crowd. And I wasn't really friends with that crowd, although we used to all get
Mm-hmm.
along, but I wasn't friends with them. And I was like, I don't like her
Yeah,
being friends with them. And I remember discussing
yeah.
with Mel. Mel was my roommate. And I said, I don't like what Abby is
Mm-hmm.
doing lately. And she was like,
Yeah.
why, what she's doing? And I said, no, I feel very ignored. And I don't feel like, she wants to hang out with me, with us anymore. I don't know what's
Mm-hmm.
happening. And then she told me that, then you should just talk about it with her if that's the problem. Because,
Yeah.
and Mel was also really mature in the fact that she didn't really agree with me or disagree with me, because she told me clear cut. She said, you know what? I don't really understand what's happening in your friendship with Abby, and only
Mm-hmm.
she can answer you these questions. So I suggest that you speak to her. So that's when I
Yeah.
remember I called you to my room and I said, hey, let's eat
Mm-hmm.
something or something like this. But yeah, and you came over,
Yeah.
and first, like, we had this awkward small talk, and then I was like, okay, no, I cannot handle it. I need to tell her how I'm feeling and what she's doing. I don't agree with what she's doing. So that really helped
Yeah.
with the discourse. And I think in that conversation, both of
Mm-hmm.
us really understood each other.
Yeah, we really did. And in that moment, when you spoke to me, I was like, wow, no one ever in my life has ever been like, cared so much about me to just be straightforward and be like, okay, listen, what are you doing?
Mm.
This is like this and like this. And I was just like, okay, this is someone definitely I'm going to keep in my life for a long, long time.
Oh, Abby.
Yeah, I really appreciated that. Like, you have no idea. Like, all those random people, I didn't
Yeah.
even like them that much that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for some reason, okay, I know what the reason was, because I was going through stuff and I was just trying to forget. And I feel like I was kind of avoiding you. I feel like
Yeah,
that,
you
but
were.
not intentionally.
Hmm.
It was
Hmm.
just happening like that. And when you pulled me back, I was like, I'm really grateful to have a friend like this, because who knows how far that would have gone.
That was, and then remember, then we made it a point. We made it a point that we will hang out with each other. So you tried doing things with me
Yeah.
that I liked, and I tried doing things with
Uh-huh.
you that you liked, and we both really,
Yeah.
we honestly, now that I think about it, Abby, we worked in our friendship, because I think both
Yeah.
of us knew that both of us mean so much to each other that we were just not willing to give up on this friendship. And wow, I,
Exactly.
now that
Yeah,
I
I
think
just
about it,
realized that as well. We really worked hard at our relationship.
we did. And now we are so close that even though we are
Yeah,
continents apart, but
we
you and
still,
I, we both know that we are just one message away.
exactly. We are so close. And one thing I know for sure, if I want advice from you or from AK, but mostly from you, I know whatever advice I need, you're going to be honest and straightforward with me. And I think that's the core of real friendship.
That's so sweet. And the same goes for me as well. I mean,
Yay.
I even mentioned with AK as well that the WhatsApp group chat that we have, nobody can see it.
Uh-huh.
Crazy nonsense that goes in there. And we take the
Yes,
craziest advice on the craziest things. And those are some kinds of topics that
true.
I usually don't talk about with my friends here in Pakistan.
Yeah, me also, same as with me. There are just some things I cannot talk about with certain people. Okay, let me give an example. Like, here in
Yeah.
Botswana, a lot of people have this thing of, like, I don't know what I can call it, but when girls are friends, they're
Mm.
not much honest with each other. They just validate each other. Like, I could be doing something completely crazy, and my friend here will not be like, okay, what are you doing? That's crazy. They'll just be like, oh, yay, girl, go. So I don't think that's real friendship. I can never really actually go and ask for advice from girls here.
That's really
But
interesting.
I know that with you, yeah, I so don't understand it. Sometimes I feel like it's a culture shock for me, even though I'm from this country, because I didn't really grow up with a lot of friends. I was a loner most of the time. So I'm just now making friends as an adult. And I just find those friendships so weird. Like, how are we friends, but we cannot be honest with each other? And if I'm honest with someone, they'll be like mad at me for like a whole 2 months or something. Like, I don't understand it.
Honest how?
No, not like brutal. Like, okay, for example, if my friend has a boyfriend, right?
Hmm.
And I see that boyfriend doing something that's not good, maybe he's cheating or something. It's my job and responsibility as your friend to be like, okay, that guy is not good for you. I saw him
True.
doing 1, 2, 3. And here, if I tried to do that one time with one of my friends here, and she like did not talk to me for like 2 months. I was like, what in the world? And when she came back to be my friend again, she never wanted to discuss that topic again, and she was still with that guy. I was like, okay, I've learned my lesson.
Yeah, I guess everybody just wants to mind their own business and seek validation. I guess it's quite superficial.
Yeah, it is. It's very superficial. And to me, I'm not used to that, especially when I have friends like you girls where we were so real with each other, you know?
That's true. And
Uh-huh.
even in last week's podcast, AK and I discussed this, that the entire university was just in pure awe and shock that how are these girls from different countries always together, and how come
Right?
they have not stopped being friends? Because during the short 2 years, we saw so many friendships fall apart and like there were
Right.
these groups of countries, like a Russian group, there was a Korean group, there was a Central Asian group, there was a
Mm-hmm.
Japanese group, and then American group, and then European group, and they were like total groups. Nobody could enter the group, and nobody ever really left the group. But it was just the four of us who just got together. And oh, we cannot forget Vlad as well. Vlad was also one of the girls.
Yeah.
Vlad is
An honorary member of the girls group.
That's true. He's from Ukraine. I think I should get him for one of the podcasts as well. So it was, let's say,
You
the five of
definitely
us.
should.
And how we
Mm-hmm.
stuck together, I think everybody was in shock, and people used to actually come up to us and ask us, "How are you guys friends?" So, Abby, how do you
Yeah.
that we, like all us girls coming from different backgrounds, different countries, different everything, and we just became friends, and how come we are still friends? Why do you think that is?
You know, for me, I think we were truly true with each other. I think all of us, China was an experience to us. You know, okay, I moved there with no expectations at all. And I think we just clicked. Really, like honestly, sometimes friendship is just like a relationship. You have a vibe. We had the same vibe. We kind of enjoyed the same crazy things. We were always having fun, and just everything was light and I don't know, easy with us, honestly. Like everything was light and easy. Yeah, our friendship was not forced or was not formed on like, okay, we are party friends or we are from the same country or anything like that.
That's really true. I do believe that was just the bond and the vibe, and it was very easy. Like, okay, we had to work our friendship a little bit, but otherwise it was
Yeah,
very easy. You're absolutely right about nobody was trying to impress the other. Nobody was trying hard to remain friends with the other. It was just so natural.
exactly. And we were completely ourselves with each other. We were not like, I wasn't trying to be someone else or Melly trying to be someone else or Vlad. We were truly ourselves, even to the point of no return, like with Vlad.
We did accept it. I love the phrase you just used. The point of no return. We have done some crazy, embarrassing, absolutely. I don't
So true.
I don't even imagine doing those embarrassing, weird, crazy things with anybody else but you, girl. I'm not even comfortable.
Me neither.
The thought of it just freaks me out. Because, with friends, sometimes there is this hint of judgment. Like, why is she doing this? What's
Yeah.
wrong with her? But with us, there was never
Yeah.
like, why is she doing this? What's wrong with her? We used to think, oh, she's doing it cool. Let's do it together. It was that kind of a vibe.
Yeah, exactly. We're like, oh, she's doing that. I want to join. Let's do it together. Yay.
And there was always one sane friend. It was usually AK who used to tell us,
Yes.
okay, now it's getting too crazy. Now you need to, pull it back a little bit, pull it back a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, come back. Come back now.
and sometimes we used to drag AK in the middle of it. But AK knew how to handle the situation. But the rest of us, you, me, Mel, and Vlad was full of bad ideas.
Yeah.
Every time we were with Vlad.
You also sometimes had moments of clarity, of sanity, where me and Melly especially would come up with crazy ideas, like deciding to bury our phones in the sand. And you were like, no, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, that happened at the Gobi Desert. We were on a trip and we were having so much fun that, it was one of those kinds of fun where you're just laughing non-stop, and you don't even know why you're laughing. You're just laughing. And then all of a sudden, Vlad was the one who said, hey, why don't you try burying your phones? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
And you and Mel were like, yeah, let's do it. But before Mel wants to do it, we see you digging a hole and putting a phone in that hole.
What? And imagine, Vlad, who came up with the idea, didn't even bury his phone.
No. He just used to mess with us. And I don't know why we would fall into his trap. And then remember, your phone was like messed up. It wouldn't turn on. Maybe the screen was messed up. Something happened to your phone.
Yeah, and for like, I don't know, it was the screen and the speakers. Because I remember for a whole week, I was digging out sand from my speakers. And I was just like, what in the world is this? Why did I bury my phone? I don't understand it.
I think even to this day, you're asking this question. Why did you bury your phone?
So even to this day, I sometimes wonder, like, were we having that much fun that everything was a yes? Let's do this. Yes.
Yeah. We were having so much fun. Do you remember rolling down the sand dunes and there was sand in our shoes, in our pants, in our shirts,
there was sand everywhere.
Yeah, I remember swallowing a lot of sand as well.
Yeah, there was sand everywhere. And the Gobi Desert was so much crazy fun.
Yeah. And we did the stargazing thing at night. We were just like laying there I think when we got tired of having fun, then Vlad led us far and all crazy, all of us were like, yeah, let's go. And it was quite unsafe actually now that I think about it. The entire camp was probably, it was probably 2 kilometers away from us. And then Vlad goes like, okay, I want to watch stars from here. We're like, yeah, let's watch stars from here. And the moment we laid down, we were so exhausted. And I remember sand was in my ears as well. And it was in the hair. And do you remember washing your hair and there was so much sand and the sand wouldn't come out after the first wash? I think it took like a week or something to get it all out of our hair.
Yeah, I think it took that amount of time, but it was an awesome night, especially when we finally laid down to stargaze. We spent so much time just laying there.
Yeah.
That the Chinese students had to come and call us to come back to camp. Like, what?
Yeah,
and they're like, oh, can you please come back and go and sleep? And we were sleeping in each other's tents. They had to get us out of each other's tents to go sleep in our tents.
The Chinese students were in the form of search parties. They were looking for us.
Yeah. They were searching.
Yeah, and the desert was pitch black, pitch dark, because we were so far from the camp. They had their phone torches on. They were looking for us. And when they finally found us, we were like, let's go. And okay, so let me explain to the listeners how it worked. So each one of us was paired with a Chinese student, like partners. It was to promote, international relations with Chinese students. It didn't work. The tents were in the form of, partner. Like I was supposed to sleep in the tent with my Chinese partner and you with yours, and AK and Mel and Vlad with their partners. But what we ended up doing was we started kicking out each other's partners to share tents with each other. No, I want to sleep with her. I want to sleep with my friend. And it was such a disaster. And the Chinese students probably hated us so much. And in the end, who disciplined us? I don't remember actually how we decided to sleep in the tents with our partners. I have no memory of that.
Yeah, I remember we were disciplined somehow. And how the Chinese are so good at making TV. No one told us that the following day we'll be waking up at like 6 a.m. to trek up. We were so exhausted because I think we slept around 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. And the following morning we were just like exhausted, just like The Walking Dead, and we were trying to get them to have pity on us, but everyone already hated us at that point, so they were like, nah, keep on going.
True. Our Chinese partners hated us, but there were a few good Chinese partners who were with more of the, calm international students. So they were and the other students actually stuck to their partners. It was just the 5 of us. You, me, Mel, AK, and Vlad that just wouldn't listen. And even Zaki Boy and David, even they started joining us in our craziness. So even their partners were...
They did. They saw that we were having a great time on the trip.
And this trek that you just mentioned, we had to trek the desert, and I remember walking forever. I didn't want to walk. And then remember there was this Jeep thingy that was following us, and they wouldn't let us get on the...
Yeah.
They said, no, you keep
They really wouldn't. They had the Jeep, they had the quad bike, and they were just like, no, just keep on walking. Walk. Everyone else is walking, you are walking. And everyone else was far ahead of us. Oh, yeah. That was a great trip.
It was a great trip. And we tanned so much. We tanned for
so days. Much. Yeah. We were like 3 shades darker by the time the trip was over.
And the funny thing is that, okay, I'm brown, I tan, I am further brown, right? But you were already dark. So I didn't even know that you could tan. I mean, I'm not being racist, I'm just being, since I haven't known anybody so close to me who's like this. I remember you showing me, look, I tanned. And I was like, whoa, you were tan. It happened.
It blew your mind.
Yeah, it did. And then we recovered from it.
But eventually. Don't feel bad, Don't feel bad though, it's not just you. I think a lot of people don't understand that Black people tan. So it wasn't just you. I remember showing my Chinese partner as well, and she was like, whoa, what? You got darker? I told her, yeah. I'm always amazed that I was not the only Black girl in my class, because we had Ernika. Yet I felt like I was the only Black girl in the trip because for some reason everyone just gravitated towards me. And Ernika was most of the time, this is gonna sound mean, but it's not mean, it's the truth. She was just like I don't know, transparent, or she seemed like she wasn't there most of the time. That always made me feel like, what? Why is it like that? I don't know. I don't understand it.
I think before we mentioned that there were a few calm international students who really stuck with their partners. They were their Chinese partners, and there was us. So I think Arnika was also, she always had a calm personality, a calm persona about her. She didn't really indulge herself. Yeah, she didn't indulge in this crazy behavior. I remember she was trying to run her own jewelry making business and makeup thingy back in the dorm as well. So I think her priorities were different. She actually wanted to explore China through the trip. But you, on the other hand,
true.
Yeah, you were like, okay, I'm out, I'm here. Nobody stopped me. So because you were so warm and friendly and you were having that much fun, that automatically people gravitated towards you. I think people who wanted to explore China during that trip stuck with Ernika and that other gang. And then the people who wanted to cause all kinds of mishap and mayhem in the trip was around you.
I think so. I believe it now. I understand.
Okay, so Abby, we've spoken so much of our friendship and our memories back in China, and that was 3 years ago. Oh my God, only 3 years ago. But now I want
Wow.
to
Yeah.
talk to you about something which only you can explain. But before we go for that,
Mm-hmm.
tell me something about, like, not just me, tell everybody who's listening, what's Botswana like? And which town are you in Botswana?
Okay. I am in a small town in Botswana. It's about an hour from the capital. The capital city is called Gaborone. So I am in, yes, you say it so perfectly. Gaborone.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm in a small town called Lobatse.
Lobatse.
So yes. So right now it's winter, and this winter has been colder than most winters because one of the countries next to my country called Lesotho, it's snowing over there actually. So it's snowing over there. So the remnants of that snow has made this winter one of the coldest winters we've ever had. Like literally we are in blankets in the living room at night, every freaking night.
Oh, wow. So your country is in a different hemisphere from us because right now it's super summer over here. It's so hot. But in your country, it's snowing and it's so cold.
Yes, we are in a different hemisphere. So winter is from May until end of July. Summer is from November until like February.
So it's a complete shift from what we are used to here in Asia.
Yes, it's a complete shift, completely. I super hate winter like so much. I can't stand winter. I think you used to remember every time it will snow, everyone will be like, oh, let's go out and enjoy snow. And I'll just be like, no, I'm going to stay here indoors. Yeah. So here in Botswana right now, since the COVID hit, even before that, there's a lot of youth unemployment. So my country had this awesome idea to make education the most important thing. So that's why like education here is free from like primary until your bachelor. If you go to school, insane, right?
It is. It totally is.
Like how I was doing my bachelor in Malaysia, my government was paying for that.
So your government pays for bachelors even if you choose to do it outside of Botswana?
Exactly. So they pay for, that's why I say education is free from standard 0 until you finish your bachelor.
So a lot of youngsters from Botswana go abroad for their bachelors since the government is paying?
Yeah, during my time. Because right now it's a different time and the country has built more universities now in the country. So right now is very few courses which are not offered here in the country that go abroad. And they are paid for by the government. Like people who want to become doctors and all of that, medicine, the government pays for it.
Is there a criteria that you must fall on? Like, must you have some kinds of grades in your high school or something to get this kind of free education?
Oh, of course, you have to, there's always a cutoff point. So you have to have a certain amount of points. Like we use the point system like the British one because my country was British colonized. So for high school, you have to have a certain amount of points to be able to get to certain universities. Some people end up going to colleges. That's like diploma and certificates, not bachelor. The government still pays for that. Yeah.
So tell me about the population of your country. How can Botswana afford to send so many students abroad?
Yeah, our population right now is about 2.5 million people. So you can imagine that's
And I remember you told me that there's no McDonald's in your area because in order to open a McDonald's, there has to be a number of people living in the radius.
Oh yeah, there's no McDonald's at all in Botswana. If you want to have McDonald's, you have to go to South Africa because if you want to have a, it's true.
That's crazy. You have to travel all the way to the next country, to the neighboring country, just to have a Big Mac and some fries.
Exactly. But like from my small town to the closest South African town, which is Mafikeng, which by the way, just the backstory, Mafikeng used to be a part of Botswana.
Mm-hmm.
And during like the apartheid, the fight back in the day when the Germans and, everyone was fighting in South Africa actually stole Mafikeng and made it their own. Now it's just part of the country now.
Okay.
So Mafikeng is like maybe 30 minutes away by car from my small town, because my small town is right on the border.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so since for you to open a McDonald's in a city, you need to have minimum 1 million people. There is definitely no city. That's like half of my country. So there's no way there will ever be a McDonald's here.
How about KFC or Pizza Hut?
Oh, we have KFC and we have different pizza companies. We don't have a Pizza Hut. We have Domino's. Domino's Pizza. Do you remember Nando's, the South African? Yeah, the one that we used to go to. Yeah, we also have Nando's here. We have KFC and we have Domino's.
So Abby, now that you've, in the beginning we mentioned that you've lived in Malaysia for 4 years and in China for 2 years, and you have been, now you are in Botswana. So as a child, you have different memories, different experiences, because your mind is not open up to the world. But after you went to Malaysia and you came back to Botswana, what was that like? That
was, I think, a shock, because when I went to Malaysia, I was a kid. I was like 17 going on 18. I had never been, like, I grew up not being part of any club, any sports club or anything like that. So I never slept away from my house, like, ever. I never traveled alone. And after I came back from Malaysia, because I basically matured and grew up in Malaysia, honestly. I spent about 4 years in Malaysia and 1 year traveling a little bit after I had graduated, which my mom just totally, completely did not understand, because how do you say you're traveling when you should be coming back and finding a job? Yeah, so I came back here, and I don't know, in my mind, coming back here, I was just like, okay, you finished your bachelor's, you're going to come back, automatically you're going to find a job, make money, and that was completely not true. I came back and my country had this thing called the internship program, because there were so many of us. Like, my country sent, I think about, 5,000 to 10,000 students to Malaysia per year.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. We all went to different universities in Malaysia. So imagine every year that amount of graduates coming back to the country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there were a lot of people who could not find jobs. And some of us, we studied courses that at that time were completely unnecessary in my country. They didn't have jobs like that for us, and we just had to find whatever job you could get. Like, I studied multimedia and entrepreneurship in Malaysia. But when I came back, I worked as a public relations officer. I worked as a brand analyst. I think at one point I even did front desk for a hotel. Yeah, so I was just, trying my hand at everything and anything. And I could just never understand, because everywhere I went to work, everyone was so, I don't want to say lazy, but it's true. Everyone was so lazy. Everyone just did not want to work, and I came back like, yeah, I'm going to work. I'm going to make a difference. And I realized, that's not what we do here. We don't make a difference. It's the same, yeah?
In Pakistan, we're lazy. We don't want to make a change. We're just like, okay, fine. Somebody will tell us what to do and we'll do it.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was. So I think my first year working in Botswana, I was working in a government institution and everyone hated me. I swear, because the post that I had the power to make a few changes. So I did. I made a few changes, that was way back when in my country, companies did not see a need for a social media page, for example. Company, especially government institutions, like, they did not care. Are you on Facebook? Are you not? They don't care. They felt is no use. And I made changes like that. And just simple things like talking to people, because when you're young, You think you have the world all figured out and you can try and advise people.
God. Yes.
I would try and advise like people who are older than me and they would just be like, little girl, just sit down and do your job, stop talking to us. So that was a major culture shock. And after a year, I had already decided I need to leave this country and go do my master's because I cannot deal with this anymore.
Oh, God. So then you applied for the Chinese government scholarship and you got it.
Yeah. And funny thing, people here don't actually believe in applying for things and they don't think that you will get it. The Chinese government scholarship, I applied for it and they were only taking about 27 people and they were
taking 27 people from Botswana?
Yeah. And when I applied for it. I asked two of my friends, the girls that I was working with, like, oh, let's go apply for the scholarship. And they were like, you're not going to get it. Just 27 people. And I was like, okay, screw it. I'm just going to apply by myself. And there were over 10,000 applications.
So you made it.
Which was insane.
Those 27 students out of 10,000 applications?
Yeah. I didn't believe it either.
Believe it, baby.
Yeah. But you know what? I think, when you apply for scholarships, they look at things like, have you been abroad before? I think that's an advantage, actually.
But then you also mentioned that Botswana sends 5,000 to 10,000 students abroad to study. So among those 10,000 applications, don't you think that almost all of them would have gone abroad to study?
I don't know. I would just like to believe I had a bit of an advantage, or maybe I was just lucky. I think most of the students who came back from Malaysia, most of them actually, either they started their own businesses or they were actually working in, how can I say it? High industry careers, private companies. Mm-hmm. And most of them from my friends who I would talk to, they actually did not want to leave the country again because here in Botswana, it's expected that after you finish your bachelor, you have to work for at least 5 years. And no one at that time, I was lucky because no one at that time really believed that getting a master's was a useful thing.
Mm-hmm. That's just 3 years ago.
Yeah, imagine. That's just 3 years ago. And right now, everyone wants a master's. And I'm like, yay, I got mine.
Okay, so now you have to draw a contrast for all of us between among these three countries that you've lived. How was Malaysia different? How was China different? And now that you're in Botswana, after having lived in two foreign countries, how is your life affected and different now? Okay.
Malaysia. So when I left here, we had an orientation, right? And they would tell us in Malaysia, you cannot do this. You cannot dress like that because it's a Muslim country. And I was like, okay. But the moment I reached Malaysia, literally when I was in the airport, I saw Chinese girls and Indian girls in short shorts with their bums out. And I was like, wait, this is not what they told me about. Yeah, it was such a shock. But the one thing about Malaysia is because it is a Muslim country, there are, I think, 4 types of international students in Malaysia. We had Arabs and we had Pakistanis and we had Nigerians and we had Botswana. So literally these were the most international students. We didn't have people from all over the world compared to China where, how in China we had people from all over. I met a girl and she was she's from Moldova in China. And I had never ever met someone from Moldova. In Malaysia, you'll find the same type of people. Even though they're international students, they kind of have the same thought process because, Arabs and Malays and Nigerians, the Nigerians who were there were mostly Muslims as well. So that's where I learned mostly about Islam, in Malaysia.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because let me say 90% of the people I was living with were Muslims. And mind you, here in Botswana, we do have a Muslim population, but I would say they don't really mix and match much. I only had
Mm-hmm.
one Muslim girl I knew in Botswana. And even then I couldn't really get close to her because her family was like, no, you cannot get close to everyone else. They will tarnish you or they will lead you wrong, you know. But in Malaysia, it was most Muslims, and that's where I got to understand that what you see on TV and what you hear and read is not really true.
Yeah, that's really interesting that your mind opened up to the reality of this religion and the culture. That a lot of people had this, preconceived notion. They still actually do. They have this preconceived notion that, okay, this is how they are. They hate us. We hate them, blah, blah, blah. But I need to comment here about your personality and how your brain works, even for everybody who's listening. Abby is the most accommodating person ever, and she's the most understanding ever. And I think you are like a very few percentage of people on this planet who actually view the other person or view the other culture, view somebody different, just anybody or anything with absolutely no bias at all. And I believe you have so much empathy in your heart that you first relate on a human level. And then later, when you get to know the person, you experience them. I think that's when you start creating an image of them in your head. And also, one more thing that I want to clarify here, that Abby does not have bad opinion about anybody. And you are the only person in my life who actually does not have a bad opinion about anybody. Like, she can say that she doesn't like something about somebody, but she doesn't ever dislike a whole person or a whole thing, just because of those few bad qualities. And one more thing, in China, there is quite a lot of racism, I would say. The Chinese people, they treat black people very differently from the white Russians or white Americans. And you, Abby, every time you were a target of anything that was racist, and even I would get triggered, I would say, Abby, why don't you care about it? And you always used to say, they don't know what they're talking about. And if they can learn something through me, then why not? You always had this open mind. Where do you find because it comes from within you, it comes from inside of you. So how did you develop this skill?
I don't know. I think I don't know, honestly. Like, I always want to believe when someone is mean or, it doesn't act right towards you, it's simply because they don't understand, That's what I believed. And I'm lucky, honestly, because I have not really experienced like really bad racism. Like, I haven't had someone do something to me bad or be like, oh, you're black, blah, 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 And, in China, I know sometimes people would like stare at me or I wouldn't get certain jobs because I was black, but I never actually thought it was because I was black. I don't know. I just always felt like, oh, they don't understand or they have, they're brainwashed to think like this. So is it really their fault? I never felt like it's their fault, and I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I will say, though, that in Malaysia, I kind of had a bad experience, but not really. Like, I was working with my friends, and there was this Malay man in a small scooter. He was like driving right next to us, jerking off, like masturbating right there.
What?
On his motorbike. Like, he just had his thing out and he was doing that and just staring at us like, yeah. And I just felt like, the town that we were in the beginning was a really small town, and they had actually never ever in their lives seen black girls.
Ooh.
And especially seen black girls with like tiny shorts, with like big booties, all of that,
Yeah.
Like, for me in Malaysia, I never wore anything short. I always covered up. But the girls that I was with, they were wearing small dresses, tiny shorts. So I kind of understood that men has ever seen that. Now that I think about it, because I'm older, I think like, oh my God, ew. But back then I was just like, oh, okay. this is new. I just keep working, For me, back in Malaysia, like I always covered up. I don't know, maybe it was because I had an Arab boyfriend, and also honestly, I was never really comfortable like that with my body way back then. I was still young, I always felt like I have to cover up. And my friends, they always wore like shorts, you're in a different country, they're far away from their parents. They feel like, okay, this is the time, So I kind of had that understanding, or I always wanted to understand that, okay, it's not their fault, And so I try to, I don't know, people here, like my family kind of hates that about me, that I'm, when something happens, I'll be like, okay, just try to put yourself in that person's shoes, that even though it's like disgusting that he's doing that, he has actually never seen big bumps like this. So he has no control.
No, that's just sick behavior, Abby. And it's, again,
it is
so interesting that you still, like, this was happening in front of your eyes and you're still giving him the benefit of the doubt. And I think people like you are very rare.
Yeah, I don't know. Now that I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, that was so ill. But, back then I was just like, keep it moving, that's just him doing his thing.
So I always called you a hippie because of these things. That you just don't care. And I think you're still a hippie. So again, it comes from the inside. I guess it also means that, you're so comfortable in your own skin and you have accepted everything about yourself to yourself, that nothing bothers you. And I think this is a height of enlightenment that everybody just cannot achieve. And there's one more thing that I learned from you, because I used to love to gossip. And I still do sometimes. And but back then I was like such a gossip, because in Pakistan, we all gossip a lot. And even in China, I used to gossip a lot. If I used to find out about somebody, I used to run to you girls and just tell you girls, oh, I know about this, I know. And you guys always wondered, how do you know these things? And I just said, I just like people tell me things, or I just find out stuff. It's because, as they say, you get what you seek. Since I was seeking all this kind of gossip about people, I kept getting it.
Yeah.
So one thing I learned from you, I think I was trying to gossip about somebody else with you, and you were close to that person. It was back at the time when I felt neglected. So I used to ask you a lot of questions about like this other person. And you never told me anything. You just used to tell me a little bit. That was kind of safe to tell. But then you wouldn't tell me much. And then I remember really trying to probe you into finding out what is going on. And then you said this one sentence to me, which really stuck to me. And I think every time I'm deterring from my path, that sentence, I recall it. And you told me, your exact words were, "It's not my secret to tell."
Oh, yeah.
I remember, like, I was blown away. I was like, hold up. This is actually true. Like, if you find out something about someone, then it's not your business to carry it forward. You said it with a straight face, although we still are best friends and, we tell each other everything. But when we tell each other everything, it's about us now.
It's about us, yeah.
Yeah. But we never, and I think after that as well, you gave me this information, and like, it's not my secret to tell, this sentence. And I was like, you know what? It's about time. And it also again shows another height of enlightenment on your part, that you are only focused on yourself. You're not wasting your energy on others. Where did you get this maturity?
I told you, when I was growing up, I was a bit of a loner, and I don't know, to me, I think being a loner, when I was growing up, I was always focused on me. Like sometimes even you would show me like, I don't really pay attention to my surroundings much. I've always believed that if someone trusts me with certain information, I should value that aspect, because you trusted me enough to tell me something that's so personal to you, And for me to pass it on like that didn't really sit well with me. Like, I treat people how I would hope they would treat me. So if someone tells me something, I just don't want to break the loyalty or break that trust and go off and tell it to someone else. That doesn't really sit well with me. Okay, you are my best friend, right? And if you tell me something, definitely, I would never discuss it with someone else. So when people tell me some things, I take it and I kind of push it far back into the back of my mind, and I don't really think about that thing anymore. Because I'm so far off in my own thoughts and in us, what we are doing at that moment, I don't really see certain things. And you'd be like, you're so oblivious. And I'll be like, what did I miss? Yeah. And I would try to okay, be there with you. Be like, okay, wait, tell me again. Let me see them. Where are they? And I realized that hasn't went away, because sometimes even here I'll be with friends and we'll be like hanging out or whatever. And one of my friends would be like, oh my God, you remember that girl from 3 days ago? And I'll be like, wait, what girl? Because I honestly never saw that girl. I was just with you. I don't know. It's just something within. Yeah.
I think it's a very, it's the purity within you. That again, you get what you seek. So you're not seeking bad from people. So you're not getting any bad vibes to yourself as well. And another thing about you, even when you're deeply hurt by something or someone, you just, you don't, how do I say? You don't really live on that thought.
Yeah, I don't
always
hate that thing.
You always find a way to just calm yourself. There's this Zen vibe about you, and I think I'm one of the very lucky people who actually got to know you so deeply, because there's so much to learn from you. And again, you made me get rid of this habit of gossiping, and that's a landmark. And it's not just that. I think,
you help me become more aware of my surroundings, honestly. Sometimes, it's a good thing, but sometimes it's not, because I would really see certain things around me, and you help me become a little bit more aware, not to the point where I will remember every single thing, but enough to be able to see something that's happening.
Notice it and just register that this is happening, and you can have feelings about it.
Exactly,
And
all right.
I remember I used to be such a prude. Even you used to be such a prude. And
I did.
Mel, and these other two girls, AK and Mel, they really helped us get out of our shell. But you and I, we used to when they used to talk about, something controversial or X-rated or something, you and I would just close off and be like, this is strange. What's up? But then later on, we were the ones who were doing the crazy talk, and then they became prude. I think we went crazy with it.
That's very true. They really did help us get out of our shell,
Yeah,
I think we helped each other grow in very different ways, and by the time that the 2 years was over, we were completely different people, but for the better,
100%.
Yeah.
So Abby, okay, so then you went on to do your master's in China. So
yes,
describe the differences between your experience in China and your experience in Botswana after that.
Okay. Well, okay. Let me just mention one thing. In Malaysia, I was about school, always only school. I didn't really socialize much. And I was still a little bit in my own shell. And when I got to China, I think really I went to China with the idea that, okay, I want to experience everything to the fullest, and I was super open to so many experiences,
Yeah.
So when I got to China, I think I went full force with just like school and experiencing life and traveling and, making friends. And that kind of, I don't know, put me in a awkward situation coming back to Botswana, because when I got back here, I was a completely different person from when I left. I was open to life. I was outspoken. But I just said what I thought and what I felt, because in China, that's how we all were, just speak our minds, and we'll just like have crazy and deep conversations. And coming back to Botswana, I kind of had that expectation that like, okay, we are all grown. We can have deep conversations. We can talk about controversial things, and we can disagree, but still be friends and still be okay. And also when it comes to like the work environment, I honestly thought that when I have a master's, I'll automatically find a job immediately in Botswana. Turns out that was completely crazy thinking,
Yeah.
I've been back like, it's been 3 years or 4 years.
3 years.
Oh my God. Yeah, I've been back that long, that much amount of time. I've only been working as a consultant type of gigs. I actually have not been able to find a permanent job, because most of the job interviews I'd go to, they would ask me, oh, we see you have a master. And I'll be like, yeah, I do. And in their minds, they're thinking, oh, we're going to need to pay here more money. So that's a no. In Botswana, there are set limits on payments. Like the government, kind of checks that out. If you are employed by a company or paid by the government and they don't pay you for, master's pay salary, you might get in trouble as the company or the government institution.
Oh.
Yeah, because there are salary scales. That's what they call them. People with bachelor are supposed.
In Pakistan.
Oh, really?
No, even a master's student gets paid as much as a bachelor graduate.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's horrible.
Wow, yeah. It's really horrible, but it's an advantage because you can get hired anyway.
That's true.
Because here, because of the scales, when you have a master's and they're not looking for someone with a master's, and actually most companies, even the government institutions, government departments, they're not looking for people with masters. They just want someone with a bachelor. They could write, on the job advertisement, like a master's is an added advantage, but they don't really mean that. I've realized they don't, Yeah, so when they think like, we are going to have to pay her this much, oh hell no. We are not going to hire her. They would rather hire me as a consultant, because consultancy is temporary, or as a...
There's no scale for consultants?
No, it's like even though there's a scale, it's temporary, so they could just be like, pay you half because it is temporary. Yeah, or as a part-time, which they don't really have to pay you all that much, so they just use your skills and use you and give you crap amount of money, and you just have to be like, oh, thank you for hiring me anyway. So it's been like really hard trying to find a permanent job. I'm lucky, like my mom does most of everything for me. Like I don't really struggle that much, but like imagine for some people who don't have parents who are well off, and they went and did their masters thinking they're going to find a job, and you spend like 3 years still searching for a permanent job,
That's such a sad situation. Is it affecting the mental peace of all these youngsters who came back with so much hopes? And is there a suicide rate that you guys are worried about?
It is affecting like the mental health of a lot of people, but there is not a lot of suicides, honestly, because of people not being able to find jobs. I think everyone just internalizes it, because my country, like let me say 85% of the people in Botswana are Christians.
Mm-hmm.
And by being Christians, I mean deep Christians where you believe everything happens for a reason and you believe suicide is a major sin. It's like the biggest sin, like to kill yourself, you're automatically going to hell. So, so there's not a lot of
Nobody
suicide,
wants to ruin
but
that.
yeah, but there's a lot of drinking. People drink a lot. People drink a lot here, especially since there's not even a lot of entertainment. Entertainment is drinking. So that's it. Yeah, drinking alcohol. Just every weekend, everyone is drunk. And I don't know how people get drunk every weekend when they don't even have jobs. Like, where do you guys get this money? Honestly, I'm always wondering. Yeah, I'm honestly like 3 weeks ago, one of my friends, she's unemployed just like me. She works like part-time gigs and everything. And every weekend she's like getting drunk, buying alcohol. And I asked her like, where do you get this money? Like, honestly.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, whenever I work a little bit, I just go buy alcohol. I'm like, really? That's what you do with the little money that you do make?
So no savings.
No savings, exactly. Because for me, when I get a part-time job, I try to save as much as I can, honestly, and buy like the necessary things because I know this job is not going to last and I'm going to stay like another 8 months unemployed. So I want to be able to at least buy my toiletries and buy myself whatever I need, you know.
And like
that's
spend
what
it
happens.
on something useful.
Exactly. Yeah, once in a while I want to go out, but like honestly, like wasting money on alcohol.
You were never a drinker, Abby, even over there.
Yeah.
These other friends of yours, they used to drink and get drunk and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But you were always the sober one in that group.
Yeah. Because I could never understand the point of alcohol, honestly. Like, yeah, once in a while you can drink and have a nice time, but I like a sober mind. I always had this fear, like, if you are drinking all the time and you go overboard, like, I don't think I would be okay with losing memory like that. Anyway, yeah, let me move on. So the major difference with being in China and being in Botswana is that in China I could make nice money, you know.
It wasn't just okay money. It was pretty good amount of money.
Yeah, it was good money, honestly, like for the type of hours and the type of jobs we were doing, it was good money. And here, the part-time gigs that I make is like terrible money. Like sometimes I'm just like, like really? I'm going to do all of this work and this is the little that they're going to pay me. You know, that's the major difference. They pay us very little.
Oh, wow. That's such a sad thing. And in Pakistan, it's quite similar, if not the same. And I guess it's just exploitation at its best. They want talent and good people, and they also want all this talent and, you know, productive lot to work for cheap. And but yeah, it is exploitation, and also because people need jobs over here. So the companies get that. And I understand that multinationals have a criteria and multinationals have a standard, and everybody's dying to work in a multinational. But all these companies, they don't honestly care. They're like, do you need this job or not? And then the person at the other end, they're like, yeah, I do need this job. And they're like, then you just like be grateful for what you're getting and just start working here. So that mentality prevails over here as well.
Yeah, I think so. And here, because you have so many graduates, like I told you, it's a competition between us, everyone. Like you'll apply for a job and there are like 50 of you applying for one job. Yeah. So for sure, that he has all the power, you know. So we are all like, oh, please hire us. And they're just sitting there like, maybe we'll see, you know.
Well, Abby, we have reached the limit of our episode. We will definitely do a part 2 because there's so much more to talk about. And I was also thinking maybe you, me, and AK, we can do a podcast together. I mean, that would be crazy if we can make that happen.
Awesome.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Abby, for sparing time out to record this podcast episode with me for you, me, and a mug of tea. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.